The recording comes too long. That's why I stopped and like create another, started another recording. So a victim may be under attack from the Trojan, but they could also be used as intermediate to attack others without the knowledge of the victim. Most Trojans consist of two parts: server and a client. What the server is and what's the duties of server. Server is a program that gets installed on the infected system. What's the client? The client is also a program that is located on the attacker's computer. Both the server and the client are used to establish connection between the attacker and the victim system via the internet. So in this era, a Trojan can be described as a hateful security breaching program that is impersonates an application and it is illegal. For example, if a user downloads what appears to be a movie or music file and then clicks on the file to open it, the file will instead unleash a dangerous program that raises the disk. So this is the Trojan. So let's discuss the adware. So adware is a software program that tracks the user's browsing patterns for marketing purposes and displaying the advertisements. It collects the user data such as what types of internet sites the user visits in order to customize the adverts that are relevant to the user. Legitimate software is embedded with the adware program to generate the revenue. Adware is considered as legitimate alternative provided to the customer who do not wish to pay for the software. Software developers look to adware as a way to reduce development cost and increase the profit. It enables software developers to offer software at no cost or at reduced price. Software developers are motivated to design, maintain, and upgrade their software product and generate the revenues using the adware. So in this way, adwares are used. So legitimate adware requests the user's permission before collecting the user data. If a legitimate adware is used and you remove or uninstall it, the ads should disappear. So there is an option to disable ads by purchasing a registration key. When user data is collected without the user's permission, it is malicious and termed as spyware. So let's discuss spyware. Spyware is a piece of software code that accepts the user information and sends it to the attacker. It enables pop-up advertisements to appear, modifies computer settings, redirects users to fake web pages, or changes the home page of the browser. Users are not really aware of spyware being installed on their computer. Most of the time, spyware is used to track the cookies and display unwanted pop-up ads. Its presence is hidden from the user and it is difficult to detect. We can say that there is an example of spyware which is the keylogger. So keylogger is a type of spyware used by the attacker to record the keystrokes entered by the user.
So what's the name?
Keylogger.
Do you have like some notes for like to define this
Yeah, I will share with you.
malwares?
Yeah, I will share with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the spyware infects the user system when they visit the fake website containing malicious code, which is controlled by the spyware author. The malicious code forces the spyware download and its installation. It also gets infected by manipulating loopholes in the browser or software by binding itself with trusted software and much more like this. Then comes rootkit. It is the software that hides its activities from detection and perform malicious activities to get privileged access to the target computer. Rootkits get their yeah.
So the rootkits is a software that hides in the computer.
Yeah. It will be it mostly used to get the privileged access like administrator level access or admin level access of the victim computer. You can say that root access, which can the attacker can do anything, whatever he wants, without any privileges.
Okay.
Yeah, we can say that this level of access might be, would be the kernel level access on the system, right? So we can say that the successful rootkit can potentially remain in the place for the years if it remains undetected So it is used to hide viruses, known bots, and so on, and it is difficult to remove. Malware that is hidden by the rockets are used to monitor, filter, or steal sensitive information and resources. Change configuration settings of the target computer, perform other potential unsafe actions. So, as I already told you that rootkits are installed by the attackers after gaining administrator level access, which is the privileged access. So, then comes the backdoors. Backdoors are basically mostly attackers create backdoor to compromise the security of the target systems and gain access to the network illegitimately. Attackers insert small programs that bypass the authentication check, such as gaining administrative privileges without password. The attacker installs programs, control free victims' computer remotely. Attackers use backdoor to get access to the network and keep returning by using the same exploit. We can say that password cracking is a common type of backdoor attack used to breach network security and system connected to the network. Accounts that are unused or not used frequently and exploited by the attacker perform the backdoor attack. We can say that orphan accounts. Password crackers detect the accounts with the weak password. Attackers get benefit from these weak passwords and create an access point by changing the password. System administrators are not able to identify the fragile accounts because the accounts with modified password do not appear and they believe that everything is operating normally. System administrators find it difficult to determine which accounts are not used in order to look at them. Then comes logic bomb. Basically, logic bomb depends on the piece of software code that performs malicious action. When a logic condition is satisfied, attacker set the specific logic. When that condition is met, then that malware is executed. We can say that when the logic bomb explodes, it is designed to display an unauthentic message, delete data, completely reformat the hard drives, send sensitive information to to the untrusted parties, disable the network for a certain length of time and cause harm to the target computer. Malicious software such as virus, logic bomb, these are spread before the notice. So mostly attackers use the combination of spyware and logic bomb to steal the identity of the target user. Spyware allows the attacker to install the keyloggers secretly and capture the keystrokes. A logic bomb is designed to wait until the target user visits a website requiring a login with their username and passwords. Then comes the botnets. Botnets, we can say that these are the collection of compromised computers connected to the internet to perform the distributed task. For example, I compromise your machine, then I will use your machine to compromise another computer. So a chain will be developed. So this is the botnet. Mostly attackers distribute the malicious software that turns the user's computer into bots. A bot refers to the program or an infected system that performs repetitive work or acts as an agent or as a user interface to control the other programs. The infected computer performs automated tasks without the user permissions. So if I will compromise your computer machines, then I will perform any task without your permission, right? So your machine will come under the bot net. Okay. So attackers use bots to infect the large number of computers. Cyber criminals who control bots are, we can say that the criminals who control the bots, these are the bot masters. Then comes the ransomware, as it is we can say that the highly sophisticated attack and the most famous attack. Ransomware is a type of malicious software that looks or encrypts the valuable files available in the victim's computer until a ransom is paid. Unlike other malwares, it does not hide and it displays a message on the infected system that your files are taken away for ransom and you need to pay money in order to decrypt it. So this is the ransomware. How it gets installed: when user clicks on the malicious links in an email attachment or instant message or any social networking site. So it gets installed when the user visits an infected site or clicks on an infected pop-up advertisement. So ransomware demands are displayed either in a text file there after like the file is executed, your files are encrypted, and then a text file is created there, all the things are mentioned, you need to contact on that address, and then you pay the ransom, and then they provide you the key, and then you decrypt those files. So these are the malware attacks types. So what do you say? Should we continue or we will stop? There is much more.
Oh no, we can continue.
Okay.
Uh,
Then comes the network attacks. So in the network attacks, we will discuss about reconnaissance. Then we will discuss about what is the active recon and what is the passive recon. Then we will discuss about the scanning, footprinting, sniffing, and MITM password attacks. Password attacks. There are different types of password attacks, and DNS poisoning, ARP poisoning, and at the end we will discuss about the DOS. So let's start from the network attacks. So reconnaissance. Here we will give you a brief introduction about the reconnaissance and scanning and footprinting and sniffing. Reconnaissance, as we also discussed in the MITRE attack framework, right? Attackers attempt to discover all the possible information about the target network, including information systems, services, vulnerabilities, open ports which may exist in the network. The main objective of reconnaissance attack include collecting the target's network information, system information, organization information. By carrying out reconnaissance at various network levels, the attacker gains information such as network blocks, network services that are running, applications that are running, system architecture, intrusion detection systems that are used, specific IP addresses that belongs to that system, access control mechanism, what ACLs used in that system. They also collect the information such as employee names, phone numbers, email address, contact address, designations, work experience. Like this is the passive reconnaissance. Like if I want to collect your email address, there might be possible that I will do a passive recon, which is I will explore the LinkedIn, I will explore the Facebook, I will explore the other things to get out your email address, to get out your contact number, right? This is the passive recon. What is active recon? Active recon is that your computer is connected to the internet, and I am performing the active recon to find out the open ports on your computer, the services that are running on your computer, and the IPS ideas are the security solutions that are implemented in your system. So did you understand the active recon and passive recon? What are these things?
Come again?
I am saying that did you understand?
What did you say?
Did you understand the difference between active and passive recon?
No, not really. I not really.
Basically,
I was
active recon is that
trying to
I am
wrap my head around it.
okay. Active recon is that I am actively connecting to your computer using the internet, and then finding out the open ports on your computer, like the services that are running on your computer, the application that are running on your computer. If I am doing active recon of our organization, then I will use which security solution is implemented, what are the IPS ideas implemented in your computer, which ACLs access controls are implemented in your organization. So these are the active recon. What is the passive recon? Passive recon is that I am not communicating
Okay.
to you. Like if I want to get information like your email address, then you will I will explore different social media sites like Facebook, LinkedIn, and other things. So I will get the email address, right? I will get the phone number of your.
Okay.
So this is the passive recon. So this is the difference between active recon and the passive recon, right?
Okay.
Okay. So
Yes.
there are some examples of reconnaissance attacks, which is packet sniffing, port scanning that I already told you, DNS footprinting, social engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's discuss the scanning. In the
Okay.
scanning, uh, mostly attackers scan the whole network to perform the internal audits. It helps the attacker to extract the information such as how many hosts are live on the network, which services are running, their application name, their version, which types of firewalls used in that organization, operating systems that are used in that organization, and their operating system version as well. So it also helps the attackers to identify those network weaknesses. Like there are multiple tons of tools to do scanning. The some of them are Nmap. For vulnerability analysis, there is a NISIS OpenVAS. Okay, so attackers use these tools to
Okay.
like active, basically network scanning. We can say that these are the active scanning. Okay.
Okay. So we'll do some example on some of those scannings, right?
Uh, like when the here is didn't comes like we can say that did you know about the Nmap?
No.
So let me share a screen with you from the image like Nmap. So this tool is used for the scanning purpose. Here let me share with you an image of like here. See that someone is doing scanning.
Mm-hmm.
He uses the command to find out the open ports and the services that are running on that system. So this is the these are the ports that are open to that on that computer, and these are the services on each port that are running. So this is the scanning. So the scanning vulnerability analysis, this comes in penetration testing or ethical hacking. So these are the just concept here. What is the scanning is, and what is difference between active scanning and passive scanning. Here we will discuss about the concept. Hands-on experience, it will comes under the penetration testing, right?
Oh, okay. I was hoping that we could do at least, I even just see how the way you do it, so that when even you're talking about it, when maybe I'm somewhere they're talking about it,
Yeah,
I can easily understand what is being.
if you like want to see how different hackers use nmap tool or the scan different networks. So will you will need to like watch the tutorials for these types of scanning. You note it down on the notebook. These things I need to understand, these things how we will do scanning. So it will help you a lot. So
Right, right.
yeah, you need to like note it down, and then you need to perform activity hands-on experience on your own for these tools that used in the penetration
Oh,
testing. Yeah, it will be easy.
oh, you not show me?
if you if you face any difficulty, so you will ping me out, then I will help you out how you will do that.
Uh, okay. I was hoping that at least I was what you do it, then I can go out, because I could do it, but I don't understand what I'm doing. Like, again, I don't have any experience.
Yeah, yeah,
I can
I know.
open maybe
That's why
like
that's why I asked you first do the penetration testing course, then you will move towards the SOC. So you said that I first I will do the SOC, then I will move forward further towards the penetration testing. That's why I am saying that this comes under the penetration testing. So here are the just concepts what scanning is and what is difference between these things. Here in the SOC there are only concepts, and we can I can show you the image and these things.
okay.
So what you need to do, note it down and then watch a tutorial of that, so you will understand what is basically the purpose of scanning is, right?
Okay.
Okay, so next comes the footprinting. uh, we can say that this is the DNS footprinting or any other things. So DNS, let's suppose we will discuss about we discuss about the DNS footprinting. What is that? It reveals the information about DNS zone. What is DNS zone? This is the data that includes the domain name, computer name, IP address, and the particular networks. So attacker use this DNS information to determine the key host in the network and perform the social engineering tasks to gather even more information. So this is the footprinting to find out. There are different types of record in the DNS record, which is the A type, which points to the IP address of the host. MX type point to the domain mail server. Okay, so NS record point to the host name server. So there are many techniques that are used to footprint the DNS records as well. So then comes sniffing. So network sniffing involves the capturing, decoding, inspecting, and interpreting the information inside the packet on the TCP/IP network. The purpose is basically to steal the information, usually user ID, password, network details, credit card numbers, and these things. So it referred to as a passive type of attack, where the attacker can be silent and invisible on the network. It is difficult to detect and it is dangerous type of attack. So like say that you are using a tool that is Wireshark. Okay, so you are sniffing the packet by connecting to the network and then open the TCP/IP packet, so and find out the vital information like IP address, ports number, sequence number, protocol type. So these are this is the sniffing. Then comes MITM attack, which is the most important. So here is the example, and you will understand from this picture. So a man in the middle attack is a type of attack in which attacker intrude into an existing connection, like comes between two networks. Okay, to intercept the message being exchanged and to inject the fraudulent information. It involves in snooping on connection and intruding into the connection, intercepting messages, modifying the data. It is basically the type of eavesdropping attack where communication between two parties is monitored or modified by the third unauthorized party. Here, let's say, here is the web server and here is the victim. So whenever this victim sends information to the web server, so there comes in between the attacker. So first of all, this will come towards this attacker, and then this will communicate to the server, and then the reply back to the server replies back to this attacker, and then attacker replies back to this victim. So this is the basically MITM. So what attackers can do using the MITM attack, attacker can exploit the real-time processing of transaction, conversations, or transfer of other data. So it is most likely the form of session hijacking, right?
Okay.
So let's move towards the next slide, which is the password attacks. So there are these types of there are dictionary attacks, brute force attacks, birthday attack, password spray attack, and rainbow table. So in the dictionary attack is attempt to crack the user password by making a guess. Attacker can guess the password using manual or automated approach. This attack tries to match the most occurring words or commonly used words in day-to-day life. The most common password found are password, root, administrator. There are a list of passwords. You basically cracking that password and making a guess whether it is the administrator password, root password, admin password, demo password. You provide a list of list, and then it will go further to find out the actual password of that. So most of user create password with the names of birds, famous names, places, and these types of passwords are created by the most of people. So these passwords are basically cracked by using the dictionary attack, right? Then comes the brute forcing attack. In brute forcing attack, a large number of guesses are performed in order to successfully gain a password of target system. It involves checking all the combination of characters until the correct password is found. Then comes we can say that dictionary and brute force, if we merge both of them, then it comes the hybrid attack, right? Then comes the birthday attack. Birthday attack uses techniques that solve a class of cryptographic hash functions. The birthday attack falls under the section of brute force attack. The logic of a birthday attack depends on the birthday problem that is explained as follows. uh, like uh, uh, like the probability problem that states if there are 23 people in a room, the probability of at least 2 people having the same date of birth is more than 0.5. What the attacker do? Attacker try to get the birthday date of the target employee to crack the password. It is because some users create password with their birthday date, right? So attacker use different methodologies such as probability analysis to
Yeah.
get the birthday. Similarly, in birthday attack, it is likely to achieve equal values when different input values are applied to hash functions. The attacker depends on occurrence of number of collisions that can occur when applying the different values to hash function. So this is the birthday attack. Then comes the rainbow attack. Rainbow table attack is a huge set of hashes encoded that are pre-matched to possible plain text password. So rainbow table are used by password cracking software to breach the network security. Computer systems require authentications, store user accounts and passwords in the databases in encrypted form. If the attacker gains access to password database, password cracking software compares the rainbow table list of hashes with the hash password in the database. So there is a database of hashes, okay? So it will compare that with the list of hashes that are in the database. If it maps, so it will automatically guess the plain text of the respective hash. So this is the rainbow table attack. Then comes the DNS poisoning. So here DNS poisoning, we can say that it is the process in which the user is misdirected to the fake website by providing the fake data to the DNS server. The website looks similar to genuine site, but it is controlled by the attacker. So we can say that this is the DNS poisoning. Here let's discuss the example here on the PPT. So for example, user try to open the google.com. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
here is the Google server.
Okay.
What the attacker do? It will poison the Google server with with him, like with the poison uh, web address, like IP address, like Google. The actual address of Google is 8.8.8.8, right? So it will poison that
Yes.
with the other IP address, so which is the malicious server. So whenever I will type the google.com, so it will redirect to the malicious server. So this is the DNS poisoning. So basically it poisons the DNS table, like google.com is placed at this malicious server. So whenever the user try to communicate to the google.com, so it will not communicate to the google.com, it will communicate to the malicious server. So this is the DNS poisoning, right?
Okay.
So then comes the DNS cache poisoning. uh, DNS system uses cache memory to hold the recently resolved domain name. For example, uh, uh, you visited the www.learnwithuz.com. Okay, so
Yes.
it will store or cache that record in the web browser cache, right? Like it will store the domain learn with uz and their respective IP address entry, like, okay. So when user requests for example, when I opened at learnwithozad.com, so it will first checks in the DNS cache if the domain name of like the learnwithozad.com is found in the cache, then it will resolve that domain to their respective address. Okay, so it will reduce the traffic as well as the time for DNS resolving, right? For example, here the user query learn with learnwithuzad.com. So first time it will go to the learnwithuzad.com authorized server, right? Whenever this is like entry is uh, in the internal DNS server, so what attacker will do, it will send the rough it will send the response with the fake IP of the website. like attacker target the DNS cache and make changes or add entry with the malicious IP. It will replace the attacker will replace the IP address with the actual IP address with the fake IP address, right? So on the second time, when the
Mhm.
user requests to the domain name, the DNS resolver checks the entry in the DNS cache and picks the poisoned IP entry. So the victim is redirected to the attacker fake server instead of authorized server, right? So this is the DNS poisoning.
Okay.
So this is the DNS poisoning. So here is the example. First of all, the user query for DNS. Here is the first is will check for the cache whether the entries exist or not, right? If the entry is not exist, so it will go to the actual DNS server and it will comes with the actual IP address of that domain name. So it will store that domain in this local DNS server, right? What attacker will do, attacker will change the entry of that DNS to the malicious IP. Okay, so when the second time the user will try to communicate to that website, so it will redirect to the fake website. So it might be possible there is a malware there might be possible there come the website contains the adwares and different things, and that website can be used to compromise the user machine. So this is the DNS cache poisoning. So
Okay.
let's start from the next one is the ARP poisoning. ARP poisoning in the attacker in this attacker tried to associate their own MAC address with the victim IP address so that the traffic will forward to the IP address of the attacker. So you know about the ARP protocol, address resolution protocol. It basically resolves the MAC address into the IP and IP into the MAC address, vice versa, right? Did you know about the ARP protocol?
Come again. What did you say?
I am saying that did you know about the ARP protocol, address resolution protocol?
No, I do not.
Basically, the main purpose of ARP protocol is to like convert the IP address to the MAC address and resolve the MAC address to the IP address, vice versa, right? Like if you want to communicate to the my machine, so the my machine has the MAC address. So first of all, you will ask that please send this request to this IP, right? So there comes the ARP protocol. So
Mm-hmm.
it will resolve the IP address to the MAC address, and then will comes to the actual machine. You know that the MAC address would be unique of every machine, right? So this is in this way
Yes.
ARP protocol works, right? So basically this protocol maps the IP network address used by the data link protocol. Using this protocol, everyone can easily get the MAC address of any device within the network, right? So what attacker will do? Basically,
Okay.
attacker can craft the malicious ARP reply that contains the arbitrary IP and MAC address. Since the victim's computer blindly accepts the ARP entry into the ARP table, so attacker can basically there is the ARP table where the entries are stored. Basically, this IP is mapped to this MAC address, this IP is mapped to this IP address, this IP is mapped to this IP address. So whenever like the first thing, whenever user initiates a session with user B, so layer 2 broadcast the domain and ARP request is broadcast, and using the user B IP address, user A waits for the user B to respond with the MAC address. Like here user A send the ARP request, okay? So user B
Mm-hmm.
send his MAC address that I am here, I am this is my MAC address, please communicate to this. So here comes the malicious attacker. What he will do, he will basically ever drops ARP request and response with his MAC address, right? So it will
Mm-hmm.
like poison the entry. It will reply his MAC address. So the next time when communicating started, the user A communicate to the attacker. So it sends
Okay.
it sends his request to the attacker, right? So in this way, our poisoning like work, right? So please note it
Mm-hmm.
down. You need to see what is the ARP protocol and how it works. Then you will understand what is the ARP poisoning is. Have you notebook
Okay.
with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So note it down. What is the ARP protocol and how it works?
Okay.
So let's then is
What does art start again? What does art mean again?
sorry,
What does it mean again? ARP. ARP.
address resolution protocol,
Okay.
right? So next is basically network based DOS and DDoS attack. There are we will discuss the two DOS and DDoS attacks, which is bandwidth and sync flood, right?
Okay.
So bandwidth attack require multiple sources to generate a request to overload the target. DOS attack using a single machine is not capable of generating enough requests which can overwhelm the service. The distributed DOS attack is a very effective technique to flood the request towards the target using the distributed attack, right? So it means that it will slows down the service of the victim machine, right? DOS is basically means that denial of service, so it will not providing the services. So in the bandwidth, so when we will perform the huge number of requests, so it will consume a lot of bandwidth, so service will comes down. So this is the bandwidth DOS attack. Then comes the sync flood attack. Sync flood attack is basically we can say that uh, the attacker sync flood attack attacker basically get advantage of
No.
three-way handshake. So it sends a lot of sync requests to the target server with the intention of trying up a system. These sync requests has fake source IP address which could not be found the victim. So there is a three-hand shake, which is basically first machine is send the sync packet to the second machine, then the second machine will reply with the sync ACK packet, and then the first machine is reply with the ACK packet. There comes the three-hand shake, then the three-way handshake, and then the communication started. So what the sync flood attack is, so the attacker will sending the sync packets, so the server is busy to sending the sync ACK packet to the fake addresses. So it means that it comes the DOS attack and it will not reply to the actual sync packets, right? So this is the
Hmm?
sync flood attack. This is an example of bandwidth attack. Here is the different computer who is requesting to the target server. So here they will consume the bandwidth and the server slows down, right? So it will not providing services.
Okay.
So there is a sync flood attack. First of all, let's discuss the three-way handshaking. So here in at the top of user 192.168.0.1 send the sync packet, then the server reply with the sync ACK, and then user will reply with the acknowledge. So here three-way handshaking is complete, then the communication start. So in the sync flood attack, here look at the below. The attacker sent the sync packet with the fake IP address like 10.0.0.1 does not exist, right? So the server is
Mm-hmm.
busy to reply with the sync ACK packets, okay, right? So when a lot of sync packets is sent, so it will the server will busy to reply the sync ACK packet to all the IP address, bogus IP address which does not exist. So when the real user like 192.168.0.1 will send the request to that server, the server will not respond to the user, so it means that the server slows down, so it will not reply, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's discuss the cloud attacks. In the cloud attacks, we will discuss about the single data breach, data loss, hijacking of the accounts, and insecure APIs and malicious insiders for security. So it is the very hot topic nowadays. So you need to understand what cloud computing is. So cloud computing is most common like uh, technology nowadays. So
Yeah, everybody wants to go to the cloud, AWS, Azure,
yeah, your GCP, yeah. So you need to look into that as well. This is the most important and hot topic nowadays. So because there is nowadays mostly the cloud is used, so there are a lot of threats to the cloud and cloud things as well. So there in cloud computing, the major threat to the cloud security is single data breach that can to result loss. It allows hacker to further have access to the records, which allows the hacker to have access to multiple records over the cloud. It is extremely worst situation where compromising of single entity leads to compromise multiple records. If like attacker compromise a single entity, it might be possible it will compromise the multiple records in the clouds because all the data is centralized, right? Then comes data loss. It is one of the most common potential threat that is vulnerable to cloud security. Data loss may be due to the intended or accidental means. It may be large scale or small scale. Massive data loss is very costly for the organization. So there are other cloud attacks, which is the insecure APIs. Sometimes the organization use insecure APIs, which allow the attacker to compromise the system. Then there is the malicious insider. Like the malicious insider means that the person who is working in the organization, he is found the insecure API and he will get unauthorized access to the services. Okay. So then comes the poor security. So there are some uh, configurations that default password used for the different configurations. The sensitive information are displayed on some configuration. So there might be possible the like network engineer or other persons might use the poor security. So then comes the application level attacks, in which we will discuss the SQL injection and XSS and other things. So let's start from the SQL injection.
okay.
SQL injection means that the attacker use the malicious SQL query or SQL statement to manipulate the database. Okay, so application oftenly use SQL statements to authenticate the user to the application, validate the roles, access levels, obtain information for the application and user, and link to the other data sources. So the reason why SQL injection attack work, it means that the application does not properly validate the input, right? Then there might be a possibility that the SQL injection attack comes. For example, user attacker try to find out the input the username and password here in the field login form of the web browser. So when the username is sent to the server, it means that a equal to a, it means that it is okay, right? It is true, always true, right?
Yeah,
You when a user execute when application execute this query, so it will allow the users to authenticate to the like to authenticate to the server, and the user basically do the malicious things by gaining access by using that username, because 1 equal to 1, you can also use the condition 1 equal to 1, it is always true. So if we will not like checks the inputs, so it will allow the malicious attacker to get inside to the system. But basically SQL injections allow the attacker, it will allow the attacker to log into the application without supplying valid credentials. It will allow like performing queries against the data in the database. It will allow the attacker to modify the database data, right? So this in this way SQL injection basically works. So there are different types of SQL injection. Please note it down. You need to work on that. There are three types basically. I am not telling you here. So here this is your assignment. What are the types of SQL injection?
Okay.
So you need to like look into that. What are the types of SQL injection? So there are three types of SQL injection. So you will easily get it from the AWASP top 10. You know about that?
Okay.
Okay. So then comes the cross-site scripting. We can also it also pronounced as XSS or CSS. It exploits the vulnerability in dynamically generated web pages which enable malicious inject client-side script into the web page viewed by other users. It occurs when invalidated input data is included in the dynamic content that is sent to the user web browser for rendering. Attacker basically inject the malicious JavaScript or VB script or HTML or other language script uh, in the system by hiding it with the legitimate request. Attacker bypass the client ID security mechanism and gain access to that system. So there are some exploitations that can be performed by the XSS attacks. It means the attacker can execute the malicious script. The attacker can redirect to the malicious server. The attacker can exploit the user privileges, can hide iframes and pop-ups. It can data manipulate. It can hijack the session. It can perform the brute force. Okay, so it can also use the keylogger as we also discussed in the previous slide, right? How basically the XSS works. Here a web page consists of text and HTML markup, right? As here you see the server code, right? It is the HTML code. So this is created by server and this code is obtained by the client browser, right? Server controls the client interpretation, right? It cannot control the client's interpretation about the output of the page generated dynamically, right?
Yeah.
So if attacker insert the untrusted content into the dynamic page, like here, PHP print not found, URL decode, server request URL, right? So if attacker insert the untrusted data into the dynamic page, neither the server nor the client recognize it. Untrusted input can come from the URL parameter from the element to the database query. If the dynamic data inserted by the web server contain the special character, the user web browser will mistake them from the HTML mark. So here, for example, here is the for normal code which is requesting to the JSON file.html. Okay, so it means that whenever attacker inject the malicious code, so it will not check by the server and as well as by the application, right? So the server responds with the malicious code that is basically injected by the attacker. So here the XSS is performed. So there I already told you that there are different exploitations that can be performed by the XSS attacks. So here note it down here as well. There are types of XSS. So you need to look into that as well. What are the different types of XSS? It's easy. Did you write it down?
Yeah.
Okay. Then comes the parameter tampering. So parameter tampering basically is tampering with the URL parameters. So it involves the manipulation of parameter exchange between server and client to modify the application data such as price, quantity of products, permissions, and user credentials. So this information usually stored in cookies, URL query string. You know about what is the URL query string? Here, this is the URL. This is the query string. You can say that query string is profile equal to 21 and debit is equal to 2500, right? So here that
So
actor,
what is that?
we can say this is the query string of URL.
Okay.
Okay, so in parameter tampering, attacker gets benefit of query string. He will modify this query string to his basically intention. Here is the 2500 debit, so it tempered with the 1500. So it's easy for the attacker to temper the query string, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are many ways to temper the parameters. Like we can also temper the HTTP header, get request, post request, right? We can also temper the cookie parameters. So this is the example of cookie parameter tempering. So next comes the directory traversal. Directory traversal, or we can say that it is also known as path traversal. It is the type of tag where web application is forced to access the unintended files or directories and disclosure their valuable information data to attacker. It means that the attacker use inadequate security validation or inadequate sensitive sanitization of the user enter file name so that the character describe traverse to parent directory or move to the file in case. As this attack exposes the directory structure of the web application, so attacker can identify the sets of files and directories, access page, obtain valuable information, find out the ID password of the user stored in the confidential files. Attacker can view the sensitive information like client related information. So here is the example of directory traversal in the picture. Like learn with Zaire get process.php etc password. You know that etc password is very important file in the Linux, right? So when I will traverse using some tools, so it will show me that file directly. I will access that file directly. So here is an example. Attacker try to get the etc password file, and here is it shows that this is the root and here is the password. This is the root and this is the, and so it will it automatically basically it is the web application fault. It will not sanitize the input, so it will show the critical files and we can directly access to that file after traversing to that path.
Okay.
So this is the directory traversal. So let's take some break, 5 minutes.
Okay.